On a quiet Texas night, a humble mechanic stops to help a little girl struggling in her broken wheelchair. What begins as a small act of kindness soon turns into a life-changing journey of love, hope, and family. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Now let's get started. In a quiet Texas town where nights were often still, and the only sound was the occasional hum of passing cars, Ryan, a 29-year-old mechanic, locked up his small garage for the day. His back ached from hours of bending over engines, and his hands bore the stains of oil that no amount of scrubbing could truly erase. He lived a modest life, alone in a rented apartment, surviving paycheck to paycheck. Yet, beneath the tough exterior, Ryan carried a heart that longed for meaning. That evening, as he walked home under the dim glow of a flickering streetlight, fate placed him in the path of something extraordinary. As he crossed the corner near the old grocery store, Ryan's eyes caught sight of movement, a small figure struggling along the cracked sidewalk. It was a girl, no older than 10, seated in a battered wheelchair. Her hair was messy from the evening wind. Her tiny arms strained as she tried to push the chair forward, but the wheels wobbled dangerously, threatening to collapse with each turn. Ryan froze for a second, his heart tightening. The world often overlooked people like her, but to him, in that moment, she was impossible to ignore. He hurried over, calling gently, "Hey, are you okay?" The girl looked up at him, her brown eyes wide and filled with a mixture of embarrassment and hope. "My chair. It's broken again," she whispered, her voice trembling. Ryan crouched down, ignoring the ache in his knees after a long day of work. Up close, he could see the damage. Rusty bolts, worn-out tires, and a wheel that tilted at an awkward angle. The chair looked like it had seen too many repairs, patched together rather than properly affixed. He could tell she had been dealing with this for far too long. Without hesitation, Ryan said, "Don't worry, I'll take a look." Pulling a small toolkit from his bag tools he carried out of habit, Ryan got to work under the weak glow of the streetlight. His hands, rough and stained, moved with surprising gentleness as he examined each joint and screw. Lily, as she later introduced herself, watched silently, clutching the armrest of her chair. Her breathing slowed, and her eyes softened as she realized this stranger was not there to pity her, but to help her. For Ryan, the task was second nature. Fixing broken things was all he knew. But this was different. This wasn't just about bolts and screws. This was about giving a child her dignity back. Minutes passed, and Ryan tightened the bolts, straightened the frame, and adjusted the wheels. As he worked, Lily spoke, quietly, almost as if sharing secrets. She told him how the chair had been failing for weeks, how her mother worked long shifts and couldn't afford a new one, and how sometimes she pretended everything was fine so she wouldn't be a burden. Ryan's chest tightened as he listened. No child should carry such weight. He didn't interrupt. He simply nodded, letting her know she was being heard. The truth was, Ryan knew what it felt like to be overlooked. Finally, with a firm push on the wheel, he stood back. "Try it now," he said softly. Lily hesitated, then cautiously pushed the rims. To her surprise, the chair rolled smoothly across the pavement. No wobbling, no jerking. A smile spread across her face, wide, bright, and pure. It was the kind of smile Ryan hadn't seen in years, a smile that reached her eyes and lit up the night. She looked up at him and whispered, "Thank you." Just 2 words, but they carried the weight of everything she had felt, the frustration, the helplessness, and now the relief of being seen and helped. Ryan's heart warmed, though he tried not to show it. He simply smiled, wiping his hands on a rag from his back pocket. "It's nothing," he said, though deep inside he knew it wasn't nothing. That moment mattered. Lily tested the chair again, spinning slightly, giggling under her breath, as if a small piece of her freedom had been restored. The sound of her laughter echoed in the quiet street, and Ryan couldn't help but feel something shift inside him. He had spent so many years fixing cars for strangers, yet tonight, fixing this little chair meant more than any job he had ever done. As Lily continued to roll the chair smoothly, Ryan asked, "Where's your home? Do you need me to walk you back?" Before she could answer, a soft voice called from the distance. A woman appeared at the end of the street, walking quickly, her expression worried. Ryan guessed immediately it must be her mother. The woman, worn from long days of work but graceful in her presence, rushed forward. "Lily, I told you not to go. Out alone," she scolded gently before her eyes shifted to Ryan. Her gaze softened. When she noticed the chair moving better than it had in years, Lily beamed, pointing to Ryan. "Mom, he fixed it, look." The woman blinked in surprise, her lips parting as if she wanted to say more, but couldn't find the words right away. She looked at Ryan, her eyes filled with both gratitude and curiosity. He nodded politely, trying to play down his role. "Just a quick fix," he said. "It should hold for now, but it really needs proper work." The woman introduced herself as Sarah, thanking him earnestly. Ryan could see in her eyes the same resilience he had once seen in his own mother, the kind that comes from carrying more responsibility than one should. As they spoke briefly, Ryan felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, a sense of connection. It wasn't romantic, not yet, but it was human, raw, and real. Sarah's gratitude, Lily's joy, and the simple act of kindness wove together in a way that touched him deeply. After a few more exchanges, Ryan excused himself, insisting he was just glad he could help. He watched as Sarah gently guided Lily back home, the repaired wheelchair, rolling steadily along the sidewalk. Ryan stood there a moment longer, staring at the streetlight flickering above, realizing that the night had changed something in him. Walking home, Ryan's thoughts lingered on the little girl's smile. He had entered the night as just another mechanic, tired and worn from a day of labor. But now he felt lighter, as if he had stumbled upon something far greater than himself. He didn't know then how deeply this encounter would shape his future. For now, he only knew that sometimes, in the quiet corners of life, the smallest gestures could spark the greatest changes. That night, a story began, one written not in grand gestures or wealth, but in kindness, humanity, and a simple repair under the glow of a streetlight. The following morning, Ryan opened his garage as usual. The sun had barely risen, casting golden streaks across the quiet Texas street. His shop was small and unassuming, with a faded sign that read, "Turner Auto Repair." Ryan expected another routine day oil changes, brake checks, maybe a struggling pickup truck needing his attention. But as he reached for his coffee, the rumble of a vehicle outside made him pause. A sleek black SUV pulled up, its polished exterior a sharp contrast to the dusty cars lined up near his garage. He frowned, puzzled, as the tinted window rolled down. Out stepped Sarah, graceful yet firm in her stride, dressed in a way that blended confidence with simplicity. She looked different from the worried mother he had seen under the streetlight the night before today. She seemed composed, purposeful, and strong. Ryan wiped his hands nervously on a rag, wondering why she had come. Before he could speak, Lily tumbled out of the back seat, waving enthusiastically. "Ryan," she called, her voice full of joy. "I told Mom you're the best." Her innocence made him smile, though he felt slightly embarrassed as Sarah's gaze met his with quiet intensity. Sarah wasted no time. "She hasn't stopped talking about you," she said, her voice carrying both gratitude and admiration. "All night long, it was Ryan fixed my chair, and Ryan's so kind. You gave her something I couldn't give Hope." Ryan shifted, uncomfortably, scratching the back of his neck. "It was nothing," he replied softly. "I just tightened a few bolts." But Sarah shook her head, her tone firm yet gentle. "No, you didn't just fix a chair. You gave my daughter back her smile, and that means more than you realize." Ryan lowered his eyes, humbled by the weight of her words. Lily wheeled herself forward, demonstrating how smoothly the chair now moved. She spun in a little circle, giggling, her joy infectious. Watching her, Ryan felt his chest tighten again. He never thought such a simple act could have such an impact. But Sarah's next words stunned him even more. She drew a breath, her eyes steady on his. "Ryan, I'm not just Lily's mother," she said quietly. "I'm also the director of the Bright Horizons Foundation, a healthcare initiative focused on children with disabilities. And for months I've been searching for someone skilled, yes, but also someone with heart. Yesterday I think I found him." Ryan blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. He glanced between Sarah and the SUV, then back at Lily, who beamed proudly as if she already knew where this was going. "Me?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Sarah nodded. "Yes, you. I've spoken to countless professionals, engineers, designers, even mechanics with bigger shops, but none of them cared the way you did last night. You didn't know who we were or what it could offer. You just saw a child in need and stepped in. That's rare, Ryan, and that's exactly the kind of person I need for my project." Ryan's heart raced. He was a small-town mechanic, barely making enough to keep the lights on in his garage. The idea that someone like Sarah, a woman who clearly belonged to a world of influence and resources, was offering him an opportunity was almost unreal. I don't know what to say," he stammered. "I'm just a guy who fixes cars. I'm not qualified for something like this." Sarah stepped closer, her eyes unwavering. "You're more qualified than you think. Skill can be taught, compassion cannot. And what you showed my daughter last night, that's what this world needs more of." Lily chimed in, her little voice cutting through the heavy moment. "See, Mom? I told you Ryan's special." She giggled, clearly enjoying the look of disbelief on Ryan's face. Sarah smiled, her expression softening as she watched her daughter's joy. Ryan, meanwhile, felt a swirl of emotions: pride, fear, confusion, and something else he hadn't felt in a long time: hope. For years, he had worked tirelessly in his garage, never truly believing he would achieve anything beyond fixing cars for neighbors. Yet here he stood, being told his kindness could change lives on a larger scale. The mornings stretched on, as Sarah explained more. Her foundation was planning a new project, a line of affordable, adaptive wheelchairs and mobility devices for children across the US. Too often, families were forced to choose between overpriced medical equipment or nothing at all. "I need someone who understands both mechanics and people," Sarah said. "Someone who doesn't just see parts, but sees the person who depends on them." "Oh, Ryan, last night you proved you're that person." Ryan listened in silence, his mind reeling. Every word she spoke seemed to pull him closer to a future he had never imagined for himself. He thought back to his childhood, growing up in a poor neighborhood where opportunities were scarce. His father had always said, "Use your hands to make something good in this world." For years, Ryan thought that meant fixing engines, changing tires, and scraping by. But now, Sarah was offering him something that felt bigger, something that could actually matter. He swallowed hard, staring at the grease-stained floor of his garage. Could he really do this? Did he deserve such a chance? Before doubt could overwhelm him, Lily spoke again. "Ryan, if you can fix my old chair, you can fix anything." Her words pierced him like sunlight breaking through clouds. At last, Ryan looked up, his voice quiet but steady. "I don't know if I'm the man you're looking for, but if I can help kids like Lily, I'll try." Sarah's lips curved into a warm smile, one that carried both relief and determination. "That's all I needed to hear," she said. The moment felt surreal. Just last night, Ryan was a lonely mechanic walking home under a broken streetlight. Now, he was being invited into a mission that could transform countless lives. And though he still doubted himself, one truth anchored him: the smile on Lily's face was worth everything. As Sarah prepared to leave, She handed Ryan her business card. The embossed letters read Bright Horizons Foundation, along with her direct number. "Think about it," she said gently. "This won't be easy, but I believe you can do it, and so does she." She glanced at Lily, who was still beaming. Ryan tucked the card into his pocket, feeling its weight like a promise. The SUV pulled away, leaving him standing outside his garage in stunned silence. For the first time in years, Ryan didn't just feel like a mechanic. He felt like a man standing on the edge of something extraordinary. Weeks later, Ryan's life looked entirely different from what it had been. His small garage, once filled with nothing but oil stains, rusty tools, and the faint smell of gasoline, now buzzed with new energy. Thanks to Sarah's foundation, he had access to better equipment, resources, and a stream of children who needed help. He no longer saw his work as just fixing things. Each wheelchair, each small mechanical adjustment carried a piece of his heart. What had begun as a single repair under a flickering streetlight was now transforming into a mission far greater than himself. Sarah visited the shop often, not as the wealthy director of a foundation, but as a mother who believed in him. She watched closely as Ryan worked on designs. Wheelchairs with adjustable heights, smoother mobility, and even small innovations like weatherproof tires. Lily became a constant presence, her laughter filling the once quiet garage. She sat near him, doodling in her notebook or asking questions about bolts and levers. "Can I help?" she would say, her little voice eager. Ryan always smiled, handing her harmless tools, letting her feel included in the work that was, in truth, inspired by her. One afternoon, while Ryan was tightening the last piece on a new model, Lily wheeled up beside him. Her cheeks were flushed with excitement as she held out a folded piece of paper. "This is for you," she said shyly. Ryan wiped his hands on a rag before carefully taking it. Unfolding the paper, he saw a child's drawing, simple yet powerful. There he was, standing tall with grease on his hands, Sarah beside him, and Lily in the middle, holding both their hands. Above, in colourful crayon letters, she had written, "My family." Ryan's throat tightened, his vision blurring as emotions swelled inside him. He looked at Lily, who gazed up at him with innocence and sincerity. "You didn't just fix my chair," she whispered. "You fixed our lives." Those words pierced deeper than anything he had ever heard. He turned to Sarah, who stood quietly behind, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. For a moment, the noisy garage faded away, leaving only the three of them bound by something unspoken but undeniable. Ryan felt a warmth spread through him, one that no recognition, money, or success could ever match. He had given Lily mobility, but she had given him something far more priceless, a sense of belonging. The town began to notice the change as well. Families who had once seen Ryan as just a mechanic now admired him as a man with purpose. Parents brought their children to his shop, not just for repairs, but for hope. Local newspapers began writing stories about the humble mechanic whose hands were shaping futures. The name Ryan Turner spread far beyond the boundaries of his small Texas town. Strangers reached out, some offering help, others asking for it. And yet, through all the attention, Ryan remained the same, gentle, humble, and focused only on the people in front of him. Sarah often reminded him not to lose that humility. Late at night, after Lily had gone to bed, the two of them sometimes sat outside the shop drinking coffee under the quiet stars. "You know," Sarah said once, "I used to think wealth could solve everything. But then I realized money can buy equipment, but it can't buy heart. That's why I needed you, Ryan. Because you see people, not problems." He looked at her then, really looked at her, and realized she was more than just Lily's mother or a wealthy woman. She was someone who had also been searching for trust, for authenticity, for something real. As weeks turned into months, their bond deepened. Ryan found himself not only building wheelchairs, but building memories with Sarah and Lily. They shared dinners, laughter, and quiet moments that felt like family. Lily often teased them, her mischievous grin lighting up her face. "You two should just admit it," she giggled once. "We're already a family." Sarah laughed, blushing, while Ryan scratched his head, pretending to ignore the comment, though his heart silently agreed. Slowly, the mechanic who once walked home alone at night was now part of something he had never dared to dream of, a home filled with love and purpose. But the biggest surprise was how Ryan's story began to ripple outward. A video of him helping a child test one of his new wheelchairs went viral online. In it, Ryan's hands guided the wheels, while the child's smile told the rest of the story. People across the country shared it, moved by the reminder that kindness still existed in a world often clouded by selfishness. Messages poured in, parents begging for help, communities offering donations, volunteers asking to join. Ryan's small garage became a symbol of hope, a place where compassion turned into action, and at the center of it all was a man who never sought fame, only meaning. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the Texas sky in orange and purple, Ryan stood at the entrance of his shop. Sarah stood beside him, her hand brushing lightly against his. Lily was playing nearby, her laughter carrying in the wind. Ryan realized then that his life had shifted in ways he could never have predicted. What started as a single act of kindness had blossomed into a journey of love, family, and a mission that touched lives far beyond his own. He had fixed a chair, yes, but more importantly, he had found his place in the world. In the end, Ryan's story wasn't about wealth, fame, or recognition. It was about compassion, the kind that expects nothing in return, the kind that quietly changes lives. The townspeople continued to admire him. The foundation grew stronger, and Lily's innocent wish had come true in the most beautiful way. Ryan had become more than a mechanic. He was a father figure, a partner, and a beacon of hope. And as Sarah rested her head gently on his shoulder that night, Ryan knew one truth with absolute certainty. True kindness doesn't just change one life, it can ripple outward, transforming many, and in doing so, it transforms the giver most of all.